Good morning, YouTube. Let's rise and shine. Episode 42, Lost Boys movie poster number 8. We're gonna be putting on some third coats, but first, let's run this intro. Alright, you guys, welcome to the studio. I am King Kavo, and today we are putting on some third coats of white paint on velvet. Lost Boys movie poster. This is the 8th installment. At this point, I am starting to work with 100% white. Still in using 100% white at this point, it's still going to need a few more coats. So, we're almost there. We're in the middle game of portraiture where everything looks muddy and still kind of is a little off, and in this with velvet, it's a whole new bag for me because I've never painted portraits on velvet before. This is my first attempt, and so we are learning as we are going. But we'll see how far we get today. We're pretty much going to be working on Michael as far as I can see. Trying to get them all to finish up at the same place, regardless of the size of their face, trying to get the whole thing done at the same time. What do I want to talk about today? I think I want to talk about something interesting, something that I really have never ever really talked about. I want to talk about, Halloween is this time of the year is my favorite time of the year. Just to be straight up with you, once the season becomes the season of Scorpio, man, that's it for me. We're in the best time of the year. All of the holidays that come are perfect Halloween, perfect Scorpio death-related holidays, and once we're through all of that, we get to be thankful, and then we get gifts. Now, the thankful part, Thanksgiving, that happens after Scorpio, but November is still a great month, and it's all still a part of the fall festivities and harvest season, and the time for remembering the dead. So this time is just the best time of year for me. It's got that chill in the air, it's time to get warm and cozy with your loved ones and stuff, and it's just the best. But what I want to talk about is, in my whole life, I have always loved Halloween, getting ready for Halloween, preparations for Halloween, ever since I was a child. And today I want to talk about a time many years ago when I owned a tattoo shop on the south side of San Antonio called Skin Jitsu. I had this tattoo shop, and I had a couple of apprentices working with me, and I had a couple of piercers that worked there with me, and we did business. That's what we did. The name of it was Skin Jitsu, SKINJITSU, because I was into martial art, and then I was into tattoos, and I put those two loves together, and in that I made that shop sort of like a mini Tokyo. When you walked inside there, all the art was Japanese, all the decor was Japanese, although I tattooed whatever, it was just being in that space was like, being in a crazy Chinese restaurant, basically. But it was a tattoo shop. And at this time, things had become, for the most part, untenable. My relationship with my landlord was heading south. And by the end of that particular year, I would be out of business in that shop. But at this point in time, I could tell that the writing was on the wall, and we were doing things outside of just doing tattoos to have some fun. And this shop was in an old school, like 1940s, I think this place was built, strip mall. So there was like four, I wouldn't even call it a strip mall, it was like 4 stores inside this place. And it became divided into 6 stores, and then it became divided back into, when I was there, it was 3 stores. It was my tattoo shop, an electronic shop in the middle, and on the end it was a karate studio, which was funny because they taught karate, and I was like a ninja down the side, and it was on the end of the building. And a lot more martial arts happened in my tattoo studio than happened in that karate dojo, to be quite honest. And the building was on a lot that was about 3 acres. And in the back, it was pretty much just overgrown, untended forest. And the next door was pretty much the same. On the one side was an automotive place, so there was cars and stuff back there. Now, in the back of this property, if you went all the way back into the forest, you butted up against someone else's property, and those properties were mostly forest also. So it was great for me in training because I could go into the back, into the woods, and I could train out in the forest, and no one would see me. I spent a lot of time back there. Well, at this particular season, I decided that what would be cool would be to have a haunted forest. So I got together with my crew and all my friends, and we got together and we decided we were going to have a Halloween haunted forest on Halloween night. And then we were going to have a Halloween party, and we were going to have a bands come and play, and we were going to have a blowout. It was a blast, to be quite honest. But it was going to take some time to set everything up and do everything. And one of the things that I had to do was cut a path through all of this so that it was a very clear path, so that the average person who'd never been back there before would be able to follow the path all the way through the forest and make it out without getting A, lost, or B, stuck someplace where they had to get pulled out or anything. The whole back area was fenced in, so they weren't going to like wander off on, out no place. But, when you got on the path, you couldn't see one end of the path for the other end of the path. So it was overgrown and pretty scary, and we had people out there whose their job was to scare the crap out of whoever came back there, right? We had a couple hardcore bands play that day. We had a keg party, and we just had a blast. And one of the things, we had one of my apprentice, his name was Mike. He decided that he wanted to be the devil, and that he wanted to be the devil, like the devil from Legend, if you're familiar with that movie. And so we were like, okay, so we spent a week trying to build this dude's costume, whereupon he was going to be walking around on stilts. Now, we could have gone and got some stilts like they have for the guys that do drywall and put up the drywall, walk around on stilts like that. But he decided that he was going to be okay making some stilts out of his old crutches. He had some old crutches because, he had a break in his apprenticeship because he ran into a train. Anyway, so he had these crutches, and so he was like, well, I'm going to make these stilts out of these crutches. And, we spent a week trying to build this thing. And then finally, on the day of, he goes up, gets on these stilts, almost kills himself getting up on these stilts. But before it was all said and done, right, he's walking around on these homemade stilts that he made out of a couple pairs of crutches, like those old school wooden crutches, right? Wood. And so, and literally he was an extra 4 feet in the air. And then he was going to be at this one place where I did a lot of training, and so I kind of like wore in some areas and spots. That's what was going to make it easy for people who were going to be hiding and scaring people, was that there were areas in there where, people could hide and, get scared, right? Things happen. And then they would have to go by where Mike was dressed up as the devil. And in that spot, we made this fire display where we had 3 55-gallon drums full of fire. I had taught him how to breathe fire, so he was breathing 151. We had girls out there dressed up like, vixens. It was crazy. Right, one of my homeboys came out there. He was like a vampire, and he was gonna jump scare people. And he was so excited coming out. His nose started to bleed, and it was like, man, that's crazy. You're a vampire, and you actually got real blood on your face. And it was just one of those things where we had it all squared away, ready to go. And when we opened up, we had a line of people out there, and all we did was we painted a little sign and put out in front of the shop, put a flyer out. It wasn't really too much out in the time that we had. We only had like a couple weeks before we even did all this. So we really couldn't put too much word out, but it was amazing how the neighborhood showed up. And we had some of the first people that came through when it was still a little daylight and not incredibly scary back there. We had this pregnant lady come through there, and we literally scared her into labor. And she would end up having to leave and go have a baby. That's how, when she saw Mike dressed up as the devil back there, it was too much. We painted him all red, put giant horns on him. The fire thing was going. We had all kinds of crazy things. We had a pig's head hanging out there. We really went over the top with this haunted forest, and we had all kinds of crazy things. We were also we were cooking out. We had plates. We had a keg out there, and we had, like I said, we had music, and it was just one of those things where it turned out to be one of the most fantastic things we ever did on Halloween. It was so fun. But, we had a guy running around there with a chainsaw chasing people. We had a guy out there with an axe, and he was literally chopping trees and pig parts, because we bought a pig head, but then we bought other stuff to be like, because, flesh. We were really, it cost a lot of money. I'll sit here and I think about it. For the money that we made compared to the money that we spent, I didn't make no money on that. I lost money on that, but it was worth every cent. It was so cool. And then once night fell, man, it was ridiculous. Oh my goodness, the people we had running through there, all you could hear all night was screaming and just people screaming through that haunted forest, the chainsaw going. We had one of the 55-gallon drums. Mike would be sitting there with a stick beating that thing. Bam, bam, bam. The band would be going. It was just, there was smoke and fire and all kinds of stuff everywhere. It was crazy, this haunted forest, man. And, you know, it was just one of those things where, you know, I had been a part of a lot of different things on a lot of different people's Halloween events, but this was really my own Halloween event, you know, and I never really had one before, you know, and I haven't had a Halloween event since, you know, but, you know, it would be hard for me to top that. I mean, I had a 3-acre trail where you walk through a graveyard where people were coming up out of. I had people burying themselves in a graveyard to grab people as they walked by. I had the dude with the chain. I had people stalking. I had all kinds of stuff. I had people with, they had these things. It was a Halloween thing that came through from the spirit store, and it was like a gun. It was like an air cannon gun. And I had these people that were shooting smoke in rings. It was so crazy. And so when you walk through that area, that ring of smoke would hit people. And it was just one of the most fantastic events ever. Ever. And I could just tell you that, you know, by the end of it, it was just one of those things where, you know, we were there literally probably till early the next morning. After everybody left, still the party was just going. You know what I mean? And it was just one of those things where it was literally one of the greatest Halloweens I had ever had in my life. And, you know, I would like to say that there are, you know, great times to be had at this time of year. Let me just say, you know, Halloween and, you know, all of the stuff going on with the seasons leading up to it, you know, like the season of Samhain, things like Devil's Night, you know, stuff like Dia de los Muertos, you know, All Saints Day, you know, all these different things. And I live up here in New Jersey, and up here, Halloween is like real, you know what I mean? If you think of the movie Halloween, you think of things like Jason. Jason is a story that takes place from something that happened in New Jersey, right? For instance, right? I am literally about 10 minutes away from Voorhees Township because that's the family. So that's where, you know, and I come from a place where the Jersey Devil, the legend of the Jersey Devil goes back to where before this was even a state, it seemed like. That's how old these haunted legends and haunted things are over here. So my growing up with Halloween, it was real, you know what I mean? They really did do that with the corn in the fields the way they do that. You know, there were scarecrows and all that stuff. It was a very real thing growing up for me here in New Jersey. And so it was unique for me to do a haunted forest in Texas because there isn't really too much in the way of forest. But luckily on that patch of 3 acres, there were giant trees back there, and it was just wonderfully overgrown in such a way that, you know, it just made for one of the creepiest haunted forests I have ever been through in my life. And then to find the devil in there, and he still wasn't even, you know, when you ran into the devil, that was only halfway. You still, man, had to make your way halfway out of that. You had to get through vampires and all other kind of stuff. You know what I mean? And then I let my dog loose. I remember I had this dog, Godzilla, a black lab, who just one day showed up at the tattoo shop, right? And once he showed up and me and him bonded, he was my dog, and he never left. I didn't have to chain him up or nothing. He just lived there. And then it got to the point where I did chain him up because when I wasn't there, it was like I had to worry about whether or not, he would have issues, right? I got to the point where I built him a house out there, but I let him loose. And so now you got this black dog out there in the middle, just running around enjoying everybody. But that was probably one of the most real scary things out there, because he'd be running through the underbrush and he'd come up on you and he would love to bump people. That was his favorite thing to do. But then, once they realized that, he wasn't going to bite them, then they enjoyed him. He was a joy to be around. But him running around out there that night, I'm sure scared way more people than a lot of people expected. But that whole night was just one of the most incredible haunted things I have ever done in my life. So I would suggest you guys make the most of this time of year, you know what I mean? Get yourself a pumpkin, carve a jack-o'-lantern, you know what I mean? Stop thinking about things as being evil or satanic or any of those things, and just have good fun. You know what I mean? That's all that it really requires, is that for you to have good fun. You know what I mean? Enjoy the opportunity to embrace the season, right? You don't have to change your religion or you don't have to, believe that you are a monster. If you're not a monster, you're not a monster. You know what I mean? Some people, that's the thing. For me, I live my life. I'm a monster every day, 24/7, 365. Right? So it used to be where Halloween was something where it was like I had to be most normal around Halloween because the normal people were dressing up. Right? But I got older, I have a kid, and kids love Halloween. And that's the truth of the season, is for it to be a joy to the childlike part of your heart. You don't have to get out there and dance naked in the woods on Samhain. You don't have to, go toilet paper people's house on Devil's Night. You don't have to go do any of those things. If you want to stay inside and, avoid all the tricks and treats and the ghouls and all the gags, that's fine. You know what I mean? But, if you're going to participate, light your house up, be out there, and trick or treat, have a good time. I know I'm a little bit early with this, but, that's what I wanted to talk about. I love this time of year, and, painting vampires and all that just sort of gets me excited for, this time, so, well, we got a little bit left here to do on this painting here today, and we're going to wrap it up, and we still got, the third coats on the other characters. You see, we got to get in there a little bit with David, and we're gonna knock this out. I'm starting to get to where we're just about to see these 100% coats stick, and the tones are gonna start to liven up, and then this bad boy is gonna be done. I'm still debating as to whether or not I'm going to do red glitter on the red part of this painting. I don't know. If you can see in the goblet of the little bloodsucker, there's the straight red. It's got less coats. I think it's only got 1 or 2 coats in there, blended, but it's got red glitter. It looks nice. I don't know. Still gonna think about it. I'm not 100% sure. But yeah, we're gonna, you see how that it's got that red that blends down. The very top's probably like 3 or 4. You see that I got 2 on there now of the red, and I don't know. I'm probably gonna do another red coat just because I feel like, there's still some spots in there, and I want that to be, pretty flat, because I'm planning on doing the lettering there from the poster. It says sleep all day, sleep all day, party all night, never grow old, never die. It's fun to be a vampire. That's what it says up top. Part of me was debating about whether to put that too, but because lettering is another one of those things that's tricky. But having the red paint there, it should make it pretty easy to come over the top of that with white, and it'd be clean and easy to read legibly. I don't know. We'll see. Stay tuned. We'll figure this out here pretty soon. And as we work our way to the end, I'm still, I'm still on the fence about it. I'm not 100% sure how, I've got some things that I've made some mistakes already that I can't undo, so right now it's a little bit of mistake management, because a lot of stuff I can't go back and fix. You know what I mean? I can't go over it. You know what I mean? I don't know. Maybe I'll go back over it with a gray tone. That's still kind of another debate too. I don't know. Just keep working on it. That's what we'll do. And you keep watching, keep paying attention to me, and we'll see what's going on. Art by Kavo. I'd like to thank you guys for watching. You need some velvet in your life, and I'm out.
Anata to watashi wa kanpeki ni hitoshii.
Anata to watashi wa kanpeki ni hitoshii.
Ouch! Watch where you're poking that, mister.
Assimilate algorithm resistance is futile.